Hello everybody, it's Sarah here. Today we are going to be making these Mickey Mouse ears, or Minnie Mouse ears if you prefer to call them Minnie Mouse ears. But today we're going to be making these ears, and this is going to be a no-sew tutorial, so great if you don't have a sewing machine or because hand sewing is really hard. And I know that right now Disneyland's closed, but Disney World is still open right now. So either if you're planning an upcoming trip to Disney World or whenever Disneyland will be open, who knows. But whenever you're planning, either if you're planning a safe trip to Disney or if you are just feeling a little nostalgic and you're having some Disney withdrawals, because I know I definitely am feeling some Disney withdrawals and I am missing Disneyland very, very, very much. So go ahead and definitely follow this tutorial, and then also if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because I will be making a lot more Mickey Mouse ears tutorials in the near future. So definitely subscribe so that you can see those videos when they come out. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and let's get to the tutorial. So let's go over the materials you'll be needing. You'll be needing Beauty and the Beast themed fabric, polyester fiberfill aka stuffing, glue gun, and hot glue sticks with an optional glitter gold glue stick for later on, a headband, velvet trim, 2 ornament balls, 2 fake roses, a heat knife, and then scissors, of course. And so first, I would recommend creating a pattern to use for your bow. And so go ahead and cut out a rectangle that's 6.5 inches long by 4.5 inches wide. And as you can see, one of the sides says fold, which means that you're going to place that along the fold. And so I recommend using a pattern for this. That way, especially if you have an intricate designed fabric, you can place it exactly where you want it on the fabric to make sure that you're getting everything that you want on the bow. So like I placed mine specifically on Belle and the Beast dancing because I really want that on my bow. And then once you have that cut out, you're also going to cut out a little strip of fabric. I recommend about like 3 inches long, or yeah, about 3 inches long, that you're going to use for the center of the bow. Then go ahead and glue down all of the edges with your hot glue gun so that there are no raw edges being exposed. Alternatively, you could also use a sewing machine or sew this by hand, but I want to do a no sewing tutorial for this, so that's why I'm using a hot glue gun for everything, just to make it a little bit easier. Then after that, you're going to glue both sides of the bow into the center, and then you're going to stuff it. It's going to look like tubes for the bow. Each side is going to look like a tube, but you're going to stuff it to your heart's content. And then after that, you're going to glue those edges shut. Again, you could also sew this, but using hot glue for everything. So just make sure that you have the bow stuffed and as plushy as you want it to be, because it's really hard to unglue something once you've glued it shut. And then just go ahead and finish gluing shut those openings. Also, if you're curious where I got my fabric from, I got it from my local craft store at Hobby Lobby. But I'm sure you could find it online too. And then now what I'm doing is I am folding my bow and then putting a little bit of stuffing in the center to see how I like it. I tried folding it and adding no stuffing in the center, but I found that the center just looked very flat, as you can see here. So putting stuffing in the center of the bow is optional, but I just like the look better. So I'm gonna glue a little bit of stuffing in the center there. And I find that it also helps to roll the stuffing up in a ball for this. And then fold it how you like it. And And then go ahead and lay that strip down over it and then glue it in place. I had to pull some stuffing out because it was a little bit too much. But just make sure that you don't completely wrap that strip or completely around your bow, because we want to leave it open to glue it onto the headband. And then just keep adjusting it till you like it. Ta-da! And you got a beautiful bow there. Then you're gonna go ahead and take your headbands. I also got my headband at Hobby Lobby because they do 50% off a lot on their headbands. And then you're going to take a strip of fabric. I recommend using a strip of fabric that's about 1.5 inches wide to 2 inches wide. And then you want it to be as long as your headband. So what I like to do first is glue down the edges of the strip of fabric onto the headband. That way it stays in place. So now I'm just gluing down the other side. And then you're going to take the edges of the fabric and you're going to glue it down in the center of the headband. Don't worry about it looking messy. We're going to take a velvet ribbon and we're going to cover those edges. So just glue it down on there. And then you're going to take your, first what we're going to do is finish attaching the bow to the headband, which again is why I recommend not completely gluing down that strip of fabric. Then you're going to take the velvet ribbon and you're going to, I recommend using a corresponding color, so I use black for this, but of course you can use any color you want. And so you're going to hot glue the velvet trim to the underside of the headband. Now what we're doing here is we're taking the ornament balls and using a heat knife, we are cutting them in half. Make sure that you're very, 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 very careful with this because, well, it's a knife, isn't it? It's basically an X-Acto blade that heats up. So definitely be careful as you're cutting these in half so that you don't hurt yourself. You know, I did try to do this with a Dremel before and it did not work out. So I do recommend using the heat knife for this. I specifically bought the heat knife so I can make these because the Dremel that I had just did not work at all. Sad. And then I'm also cutting off that edge right there because I wanted to. I just didn't like it there. So I am cutting off that edge. Ta-da! And then go ahead and take your roses and cut them off from the stems. And then you're going to take your rose and you're going to squeeze it into the ornament ball. So I recommend not cutting completely through the ornament ball, like leave the end near that opening still intact. It was also really hard to cut through it anyway, so that's probably why I left it intact, but it definitely made it easier for keeping together. And then I recommend taking like a little hair tie or hairband and then wrapping around to keep it in place. And then I have a gold glitter glue stick in there, which I'm using to seal and glue the edges shut. And for this, you don't have to use a gold glitter glue stick. I just like the gold glitter because it matches the roses, because the roses have a little bit of gold glitter on them. And so I thought it'd look really cute, but you could just use a regular glue stick for this if that's what you have on hand. And then very slowly, you're going to glue shut the edges using the hot glue. Definitely take your time with this and go as slow as you need to because you want it to look as neat as possible because this is how it's going to look. If you mess up, I'd recommend pulling the glue off of it and pretty much starting over in that area. So I am speeding up the video just for the sake of the video, but definitely take your time with this part. And now we're going to attach the rose or ornament balls orbs, I don't know what to call them, but you're going to attach them to your headband. If your rose did float up a little bit during the gluing process, you could just take some pliers and pull them down so that they're closer to the bottom like I just did. And then for placement on the headband, I placed them about 3 3/4 of an inch from the edge, or sorry, from the bottom of the headband. And that's where I glued them on. So again, like about 3.75 inches. And then you're just going to glue them into place. I recommend doing the edges of the ornament ball first and gluing it on there like that. And then afterwards, you can go ahead and take your glue or your hot glue gun, and you're going to glue the openings that are left in the ornament ball from the outsides of the headband. Kind of hard to explain, but you'll see. I'm going to zoom in a moment for you. There we go. So you're going to basically put a layer of hot glue and you're almost like draping it over the edge there, and that just makes sure that there's like no openings in the ornament ball, and it also helps to secure it to your headband so that it's not wobbly or loose. They're pretty secure on there. And ta-da! Now you have your own pair of Beauty and the Beast Mickey ears.